Welcome to Actual Scale Modelling. This is part 2 of Revell's cruiser ship AIDA, scale 1 to 400. In the first part, I placed the two halves of the hull together and primed and painted it. In this part, I'm going to be putting in the first set of lights and the first deck. So let's jump into this and see how we get on. So as you can see from the previous video, I've blackened them out and re-primed the ship, but now it's time to drill in some these portholes out. So I'm just using my pin drive here and drilling them out. Now you can either drill out all of them or a selected few. As I keep on saying, it all depends on your choice. On this one I decided to drill them all out. I did initially skip the odd one or two, but then I thought, no, I'm just going to have it all open. Now with this many holes, you can of course use something like a Dremel to drill them for you. But if you are going to use your Dremel or similar, just be very careful of the speed. You want it on a very low rotation speed so you don't burn out the plastic. You don't want to melt the plastic basically. This is one of the reasons why I prefer using the drill bit. So I'm just checking to see how much light is coming through with my phone. It's a good little tip to do that, just to make sure that you're getting what you want out of the hole. Since I'm putting lights in this, I need an exit point. So I've chosen the middle of the hull, and I'm going to drill a hole into it, a pilot hole, using my pin drive. And then I'm using my knife just to open up the hole to roughly about 4mm, 5mm. The important part here is try not to do it actually on the join of the hull, because you'll be in danger of splitting it open if you do so. So make sure it's off the centre. Next is to take the masking tape and paper off. A fairly simple process. I did get a little bit of paint bleed, not much, but that was easy enough to take care of. Now I can locate the stand, and the idea here is to put the stand on, use a bit of a pencil just to mark the stand as where the hole's going to go, and this is for the carry through for the hole from the hull, so the wire comes right out of the stand. So I'm just making it like I did with the hull, using my pin drive and then my knife to open it up, and then cutting out a channel on the support bar just so that the wires can run along it. I've also placed a hole at the end of the stand here, or the base, so the wire can pass through. Of course, you can have a battery in the stand itself. You can do it that way if you wish, but I prefer to plug it into the main. Now I can put in the first set of lights, and these are LED strip lights. I'm just doing one run right the length of the ship, and then I'll be wiring that up. Now I'm not going to go into extensive detail about the wiring. I've covered this so many times on my other builds, so feel free to check them out. I'll stick a link up as well on it, and then you can, if you haven't done so, you can see how I wire these up. But it's a very simple process. So once I've wired them, I'm just threading them through the hull, and I'll hot glue them in certain points just to keep the lights stable. You don't necessarily have to use hot glue, but I find it's a good way to hold the connection points of your soldering on these LED strips, because the wire will be bending back on itself, so I don't want it to lift up off the actual contact points of the lights. Hence why I use the hot glue. And then I feed one end through the hole that I made up. As you can see, there's quite a long run off wire here. That's done on purpose, so I know I've got more than enough to wire up at the end of the build. So it's always better to have more than necessary. And always, once you've done something to your lights, always make sure that they're still working. Do this at every stage. Anytime you do something new to your lights, check to make sure the connection is okay, because if you wait until you've done one or two parts to your light setup, then you realise it's not working, you have to trace it all the way back but this way at least you're tracing it to the point that you just worked on. And as you can see there, that's them lit up. I'm using Revell Aquacolor 365 Green Silk, and this is for the first deck. Not all the deck here gets painted, just a little part. This is like the walkway deck, hence why it's the green colour. The next colour is 47 Mouse Grey, and this is just generally for the edges and the working areas of the deck. Next is Revell Aquacolor 85 Brown, and this is for a dividing wall that sits on the stern of the deck. I'm using the same colour 85 Brown for the handrails, and this is just the top of the handrails, replicating the banisters that go along it. It's quite a delicate process, this. Make sure you've got a fine brush if you're deciding to do this, but it is worth doing on these little handrails, putting in as much detail as you possibly can. I can now fit the deck. This went in superbly well. I decided to go from the stern end first, just placing it in. There's a little groove that runs right along inside the hull for this to sit on, and the supports for the hull stick up through the deck as well. So there's a lot of location points for you to get this right. So it's quite a pleasure to do. I did have to hold the bow a little bit. In the end, I secured it with some elastic bands just to make sure it didn't slip before I started placing on the handrails. Now, there's quite a lot of handrails to go on here. The first set went on easily enough, as well as the second set. There is a location bar that runs right along the area where the handrails should go, so there was no problem trying to get the exact location for them. Here I'm using Tamiya's Weather Master Series E, and I'm using the grey component here, and this is for just to highlight the doors. These doors are on the working deck for the crew, and they're meant to be white, but I just wanted to put a little bit of definition in them so they stand out. So I'm just creating a little bit of shadow work with the pigment, and then that goes on the stern of the ship, in between the deck part that's all going to be covered up, and of course the leisure part of the deck. It fitted perfectly. There's a little trough that it sits in. Make sure you get it straight in. The door should meet the actual deck itself. Don't think the camera can pick it out just quite well enough. There's a lot of white bouncing off the lens. Now we have a series of decals going on. These are the shuffleboard coat decals, and they go on like just like any other decal, softened up in some warm water and then gently placed on. My decal solution is microsol, and this softens up your decals and conforms it to your surface. This is very good if you have an uneven surface. The next is the spa pool decal. This is just a little water looking decal that goes right in the center of the spa pool. Now, because this is goes in a recessed area, it can be quite tricky to put in. So you may, if you're ever doing something like this, you just be careful, get a brush and make sure it goes all the way in. And then there's a couple of decoration decals. There's a star and what looks to be like some sort of shell there. The instructions are not exactly clear where they should go on the deck, but like always, just do what you feel right and what you're comfortable with. And lastly, I'm placing in some realistic water into the spa pool area. So this will bring part 2 to an end. Got quite a lot done. In part 3 I'll carry on with the deck and the lifeboats. But in the meantime, why don't you check out the other parts of this build, or of course the other builds on the channel. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and of course leave a comment. But for now, thanks for watching. Bye bye.